This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as an option for the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Monday, September 9th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 793 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. The ongoing and very public health crisis over the use of vaporizers keeps our top spot today, as on Friday it was announced that a fifth death was being attributed to the use of vapes. There are a total of 450 cases in all now being tracked here, with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention saying there's no clear-cut cause determined yet, even as vitamin E additives are being suspected of causing some of the cases. Following Friday's announcement, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said that people should outright stop vaping until more is learned about the cause of the illnesses and deaths. The Washington Post's story on this one is one you absolutely need to read today to stay abreast of the situation. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Also on Friday, Rob Nichols, CEO of the American Bankers Association, said in a podcast interview on the show Engage with Andy Bush that he thought the U.S. House of Representatives would pass legislation freeing banks and financial institutions to work with state legal cannabis businesses within the month. The proposed Safe and Fair Enforcement Banking Act, also known simply as the Safe Banking Act, has more than 200 co-sponsors and would lift federal restrictions on marijuana business banking. Kyle Yeager over at Marijuana Moments has a good piece on this that includes an embedded podcast player, so you can listen to the interview with Mr. Nichols yourself. Marijuana Moments holds on to today's top marijuana moments, with Kimberly Lawson picking up on a study that suggests that states with more cannabis regulation may have a harder time in squashing illicit marijuana sales than states with looser laws over the industry. While that seems like a pretty straightforward proposition, it's always nice to have the data, which was crunched here by Shikang Song, a graduate student at Portland State University, who compared the health of the illicit market in Colorado and Washington, which have taken dramatically different angles on legalizing marijuana, as Colorado went mostly hands-off, while Washington state lawmakers have leaned towards more excessive regulations. Song found that the cannabis-related crime rate in Washington grew following the lifting of prohibition, while in Colorado, it stayed the same. Another story that I dive into today, especially given that it concerns a published study, which are always good to open up in full. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, ease.com, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery, as well as the same for folks living in the Portland, Oregon area. Pop over to ease.com/home today to check out all the great editorial content developed by Ease's top-notch editorial team, which uses smart polling as well as their properly aggregated and anonymized Ease sales data stream to suss out all kinds of usable bits of legal cannabis industry insight and analysis. Right now, they have a useful roundup of recently published academic studies centered around questions on cannabis that you can dive into directly yourself, again, over at ease.com/home. And then keep scrolling to see all the properly tested, packaged, and labeled legal cannabis products up for delivery in less than an hour in the parts of California and Portland, Oregon, where Ease is active. Big thanks to everyone at Ease for supporting today's show. All right, time for the Blitz. The Washington Post is reporting that there is a lot of optimism swirling around Maryland's medical marijuana industry, which is ramping up production as the ranks of the state's registered medical marijuana users grow and in anticipation of the possible passage of adult use legalization. Maryland's medical marijuana industry spooled up back in 2017 and has beaten projections in each of the years it's been running. One stat that pops out to me is the fact that right now, just under 1% of Maryland's population is registered to use medical cannabis, while in most medical marijuana states, that percentage is as high as 4%, leaving a lot of room for Maryland to grow. Another good one to dive into today. The Canadian Press has an interesting piece up about a federal program in Canada that helps military veteran medical marijuana patients pay for their medical cannabis. Veterans Affairs Canada paid around $75 million last year and is on track to spend $100 million, both figures in Canadian dollars, on the program, which covers the cost of up to 3 grams per day of medical cannabis for qualifying military veteran patients. Alabama's Agricultural Commissioner Rick Pate said late last week that his state's new industrial hemp crop has so far tested below the threshold of 0.3% THC that defines legal industrial hemp. The state has 45 licensed growers with hemp under cultivation, and samples from all so far point to a future fully legal crop statewide. Jumping over a couple of states to Louisiana, we have state officials there announcing that 775 businesses have been licensed to sell CBD products. A new state law passed this year mandates that businesses get a license to sell any CBD products, and the Office of Alcohol and Tobacco Control say that more than 1,000 applications have been filed in all so far. In New Mexico, 2 people living outside the state have been granted medical marijuana cards after they successfully sued to become registered. One of the new medical patients lives in Texas while the other resides in Arizona. Both of them were able to argue their way onto New Mexico's registry by pointing out that the state law setting up a medical marijuana program did not differentiate between residents of the state and non-residents. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is not happy about the decision and said her office will file an appeal, but for now, the 2 new patients are free to shop at New Mexican dispensaries. Canadian marijuana company CannTrust, hit by a sledgehammer of scandal in July after news broke that it had grown a lot of illicit off-books cannabis, just announced that it was laying off 20% of its workforce, or 180 people. The move will cost the company $2 million in severance payments, but it will save $9 million in salaries it no longer has to pay. Both figures are in dollars Canadian. The layoffs mostly target the company's cultivation and customer service departments, which I guess makes sense given that CannTrust is barred from actually selling marijuana, so it doesn't have much need to grow and interact with customers. We end today's news with another headline of scandal, this time down here in the States, Massachusetts specifically, where Jaisal Correa, the 27-year-old mayor of Fall River, was arrested on Friday on charges that he extorted local marijuana businesses for hundreds of thousands of dollars in exchange for getting sign-off to operate within his town. In one case, allegedly walking into a marijuana business and just asking for $250,000 in exchange for his support. As we've covered lots here on the Daily, one of the more criticized aspects of how Massachusetts is legalizing marijuana has to do with the power that local towns and cities have over giving permission for legal marijuana businesses to operate. This is the extreme end result of how corrupt that process can go, assuming that Mr. Correa is found guilty of his crimes. Maybe not a bad story to read, even if it's just for the soap opera of it all. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.